Here we are, Saturday, no shaving, in a t-shirt, chilling out, got my bottle of water, maybe you got your coffee, you're sitting there, maybe you're just enjoying brunch right now, or maybe you already ate, maybe you smell the smell of something that's cooking for you right now, kind of drifting through, but it's not the syrupy sweet, it's not the sizzly delicious bacon that we were talking about yesterday. It's not brunch that people are craving. It's your voice. It's not perfection. It's not your next 7-step system. It's not your perfectly, wonderfully annotated, says a word framework. It's you. You showing up and just saying the thing that they're aching to hear. They don't know it. They can't put a name on it. But when they hear it, it's like water to a person dying in the desert. It's like sunlight to a person who has been languishing with no light. You know, it's like those times in the Pacific Northwest, or even when you get up further north than that, where either it's raining all the time, or worse yet, where there's limited or no sunlight all day long. And they actually have those UV lights that they suggest a person uses because we literally need the vitamin D that's created from the sunlight being on us. And we don't know that necessarily. That person that you're meant to serve, they don't probably understand what they need. Just like if you're sick, you don't know what you need. You go to the doctor and he says, oh, yeah, this and this and this equals that. Take this and you'll feel better. You're doing the same thing for your people. And right now, they're starving. They want to smell the bacon. They want the delicious pancakes. They need and crave the coffee. We talked about this yesterday. But they're not getting it because they're waiting for you. And your silence isn't saving anyone, but your story, that just might. Hi, my name's Steve Kidd. I am a third-generation minister, international best-selling author of just about 39 books. We're, doing the final edit on number 39 right now, but there are 38 of them already out there, and there's more to come after that. But, what I need you to know is really beyond the 5,000 people that I've helped write, publish, market their books to bestseller, and everything that goes beyond that. Beyond the 100% success I have making folks bestsellers, what I'm really passionate about and what I really do is I help you be seen, be heard, and be paid. I am your transformational architect of your visibility. Just like an architect comes in and they draw out the drawing so that you can have this beautiful house that you imagine in your head, that it's articulated in such a way that then people can come in and build it. You see, you've got the you inside of you. You've got that resonant, deep, impactful you that's inside of you. But much the same as if you were building a house, you don't really know how to put all the things together. How do you make sure that the plumbing gets to where the plumbing needs to get to, and the electricity gets to where the electricity gets to, and that that the roof stays on top, and that the weight of the second or the third or the 10th floor, or whatever you want in the house or the building you're creating, that it has the right load bearing for it. It has all the right things. And that's what the architect does. First, they pull out of you, your dream. What are you thinking? I mean, maybe you're thinking about wanting to have a pool that during the summer can be an outdoor pool and you can be in the sunlight. But if it gets too much, you can pull shade over that. and not, and still keep using your pool. And then in the winter, you want to have it be able to have, whatever, another part of it that's indoors, or reclosable doors that section it off. You can tell that I've given some thought to these kind of things when it comes to an indoor outdoor pool, right? Maybe you really want a jacuzzi and maybe you want it outside. But maybe what you really want is a really cool 2-person jetted bathtub in your master bathroom. I lived in a house one time, not that long ago. The last house that me and my second wife lived in, the people wanted and had built into the bathroom. They had kind of remodeled. They kind of did a janky job of it, but that's a whole different story. The bathroom that they kind of remodeled, one of the things they wanted was a 2-person jetted tub in there. And the thing, they built the box to put it in, okay? And essentially, without going into construction terms, and I don't know that I could really describe it to you well anyway, you need a frame that the tub sits in, and all the pipes are hidden behind and stuff, because you don't want to just have it, you don't just take a great big tub like that and just set it in the middle of the floor. There's structure that goes to it. And I think they did a fairly decent job of creating the box, the wooden framework for that. But then they got to, the accessorizing the kit, the bathroom, and they ended up creating jagged edges, and they used the wrong kind of tile. I had lived in another house a few years previous to that, that the people, they wanted a stand-up shower. And the man of the house was really tall. I mean, the guy was almost 7 feet tall. He was really tall. And one of the things that he'd always struggled with was, that when you're that tall, almost every shower he's ever been in, with the exception of, maybe when you're in, like a professional stadium, like if you were in the NBA, but most, and especially in residential, all the shower heads are too little, so you got to bend over to get, any water on, shoulders and up and maybe even more. And so they intentionally built the shower head up higher for him, which is great, and for your house, you should do things like that for you. But then they moved out of that house. And then you have the shower head, and I'm 5'10", so I'm not super short, but I'm not 7 foot. The shower head was way up there, you know. Now there was an easy fix for that. I went out and I bought an extension. There's extensions you can get for pipes. I bought a pipe extension, and then I bought the removable shower head. And by the time you put the extension in and the mechanism for the removable shower head kind of deal, the hand, so you can use it in your hands and you can, you know what I'm saying. Sorry, went off on a tangent there. And then it was the right height for me. But the other thing with that shower is they had done the tile themselves, and they put tile that as soon as it gets wet, it turned it into, an ice rink. And it literally became a situation where it was treacherous to walk on the floor. And so, yeah, you can go out and you can buy those mats, that have little suction cups on them and stuff, and you can make the floor safe. But you see, architects, and that was a DIY project. Both of these things I was talking about were DIY projects that the homeowners did themselves. That's where the architect comes in. The architect comes in and draws the drawing for you and says, we need to use this, we need to use that. And then the general contractor reads from that architect's blueprints, and they're like, all right, we want to use this size pipe here for this reason. And a lot of times, they're not the engineer. I mean, there's even engineers that are involved in some of the joist work in between floors and things like that. I learned all this stuff when I was doing a remodel of a house we did. Everybody should get a practice house, because once you remodel the house, then you go around and see all the things that you wish you would have done differently. Again, total tangent that has nothing to do, but this is part of our Saturday vibe. Part of what I want to do is just share me with you. Why? Because one of the things that I'm going to say is going to resonate with you, Because just like I'm saying to you that I know that somebody needs that we were talking yesterday about them jonesing, about them craving for you. What you need to do is feed their need. And that comes from you being the architect in your space. I'm the architect here for your visibility, and I'm showing you step by step, detail by detail. And even more than that, I have programs. I'd love to work with you. I'd love for you to be able to say, what's my hashtag word today? My word today is feed. Drop the comment feed. If you're really serious about it, send me a direct message right now and say feed. You need the help. You need an architect to come in and tell you, no, you don't want to use that kind of tile. And hey, in this particular case, you need this wider conduit. Remember we talked about I guess that was the book I was editing. That'll be, and if any of you are listening to the lives where I was reading the book, you know what I'm talking about with the being a wide conduit. You need to have that flow. And I explain all of that to you and how can I help you today. The book that will be coming out probably, in fact, it's going to be available for you in digital form next week, maybe even Monday. Let's see how I do on the editing today. Okay. And again, you see, I'm going off on a whole bunch of little tiny tangents. And I'm sure when I put this into Chat GPT and I say, how did this go? They're going to be like, well, you're a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? That's okay, because I'm giving you all of these random different descriptions to both A, really legitimately, genuinely, without having shaved this morning, in a t-shirt, chill Saturday vibe. I got my bottle of water here and I'm going to take a drink. And maybe you got a cup of coffee. And Patricia, who's often on, on these lives with us, she's at a barbecue today. She's hanging out, chilling, having her Saturday vibe. We're all just hanging out together. And through that, I want to begin to start drawing the architectural blueprints for you. That's what I've been doing this whole last, it's been like 5 weeks now that we've been doing this every single day. And if you went back and you watched all of them, yeah, you'd have all kinds of crazy tangents that Steve went off on. And you're like, why did he talk that much about it? And yeah, there's a lot of content that I put out there. And that's why I've been doing all the short videos. I do at least one, sometimes two, even a couple of days I've done 3 short videos. And if you join Visibility Amplifier Community, you can dig through my Facebook and you can find all of them. But if you join visibilityamplifier.com and you join our Visibility Amplifier community, you can see all those shorts. I share every single one of them to the group. And you can start getting the little pieces, little tiny bites. Kind of like, I've drawn a whole entire blueprint for this giant, massive mansion. And then what I do is I just tell you, okay, here's where the end of the driveway is going to be. And we're going to this is where the mailbox will be. Can you envision the mailbox there? And so we're going to start, and we want the whole construction crew, even before we lay gravel, put down any of the pavement or any of those kind of things, we're going to have a construction crew, kind of level this out a little bit for getting their equipment. Maybe your house is up just a little bit on a rise of a hill. Not a lot. We don't want it to be like one house I lived in where, there was like, you felt like you were just about going to tip over. It was a crazy steep driveway. But, a little bit of a rise so you can be up there and have a great view of all the stuff. And we want the construction crew to create a nice, easy, flowable way. That's easier for them to get all of their equipment up there. And it's going to be the easy place that you can create your nice, long, sweeping driveway. And as the architect, I've already outlined where that's going to be. So long before the lawn comes in or the driveway gets done, or we do put up a mailbox with our name on it and all those cool things, we're already, even before the first hole was dug for the basement or stick was put up for the outside of the house, we've already got this nice, really gently flowing path to the site where we're going to build is. And that's what you do for that person that is craving. You feed them the little tiny bites. You give them that little piece of, okay, right here is where you want the people to start on ramping onto what you're doing. You could think about it in terms of a highway. If you were going to drive, I mean, if you take some of the really long interstates, like for example, Interstate 40 goes pretty much all the way across the entirety of the United States. And you want to begin to start not just digging a straight line and going, okay, now you're going to drive for 3,000 miles nonstop. You're going to need gas. You're going to need to stop to go to the bathroom. You're going to want to eat food. You're going to need to stop overnight. I mean, that interstate and a couple others that go along with it took what was Route 66, which was the highway, went from Chicago to Route 66. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say it goes to Los Angeles. And it connected that. And there were all these towns that, were very much flourishing because of that course, of that path. And it was more of a, regular 2-lane, 4-lane highway because it was the early days of auto travel. And then we put up the interstates. And then all the people who had businesses on Route 66, they weren't doing as well. And the people that owned those businesses on Route 66, they were starving. They needed you to feed them. They weren't craving sugary sweets. They weren't jonesing over the sizzly bacon I was talking about. They wanted to know, how do we keep our town from dying? I have this amazing, really cool campgrounds that I created that people would pull over and they would stay the night in. I saw one, that it was like they were all teepees. I have this really great mom and pop, been owned for the last 50 years hotel. And there's only about 20 rooms, but it's a really well taken care of, really cool place. And we've got a little diner that's next door, and it's owned by, we're actually, one of the grandkids married one of their grandkids. And so we're all family now. And we'd really like to get people off the interstate and back to traveling on Route 66. And the architect comes in, seeing that they're starving, needing a new way. Because if you're just wanting to get from point A to point B, you're going to take Interstate 40 to, you're probably going to take Interstate 40 to Oklahoma City and then hop on Interstate 35, and you're going to take that, probably to like Interstate 70. I'm just talking about if you're going to get to Chicago. And then you're going to take that to St. Louis. Interstate 35, by the way, is going to take you to Kansas City, where at which point, just before you get to Kansas City, really more around Topeka, you're going to jump on Interstate 70. You're going to take Interstate 70 to St. Louis, and then you hop on, and I apologize, it's been a lot of years since I was on that interstate, but the interstate that goes, I want to say it's, no, 29's in South Dakota. Anyway, the interstate that goes from St. Louis up to Chicago. And it's a much easier, quicker, faster way if you just wanted to get there quickly. And if you really need to get there and you're in Los Angeles, what you're really going to do is you're going to go to LAX or Ontario Airport, or maybe the San Diego Airport, which is a little bit of a drive, or the John Wayne Airport, which is in Orange County, right near Disney. It's one of the advantages of living in LA. There's a lot of airports. You could also go up to Glendale. There's a small airport there in Glendale, or it's either in Glendale or Burbank. And you buy the best ticket, which is normally the cheapest one's going to be from LAX. Hardest to get to, but the cheapest ticket. And you're just going to fly right straight to O'Hare. And boom, you leave LAX and you're in O'Hare in about 3.5, 4 hours, whatever that trip is. It's about 4 hours, I want to say. So, then the people who have these amazing businesses in Flagstaff on Highway 40, and they're looking at how do we still get people to drive across the country? How do we get people to go through the Rocky Mountains on, for example, Interstate 70 on that, that highway that goes across the Rockies there, or Interstate 80 or Interstate 90? How do we get people to do that? Because my business that I built based on this interstate, we took Route 66 and we were all bragging about how we put them out of business. Now Route 66 is coming back because really cool places to stay, Airbnbs, are what the architects fed them, the thing that they were starving for. And they met that need. And then, Interstate 40 started struggling a little bit. Because after all, yeah, I just thought of a whole totally different way that you could absolutely, and might even be easier to get to Chicago from Los Angeles. But that's just because I used to live down, just south of, about an hour and a half south of LA. So anyway, I apologize. Total brain melded, gone for a minute, but I'm back. See, this is our Saturday vibe, and it's okay. And sometimes you're going to totally mess up, and sometimes you're going to completely distract yourself. But the person who's starving to death, and that's what we've got to understand. You see, they're craving, they're jonesing, they need it. They're like that person that you dare not talk to until they drink their coffee in the morning. Only it's not just a addiction or a worry or something like that. This is life and death. This is their business is failing. This is their family's in need. This is their child has has a disease that may cost them their life, and they need support from people like you that have gone through that. I did a book with a wonderful husband and wife, heart-wrenching book about their child who died of, and some of you who know me are going to understand why I'm halting even as I'm saying this. Their child died at about less than 2, I want to say, of acute myeloid leukemia. Now, for those of you that don't know, my youngest daughter, Maya, at 17, was diagnosed with what's called AML, acute myeloid leukemia, and was in complete organ failure by the time she got to the hospital. We almost lost her. Now, the great news is, let me jump ahead so you don't freak out and I don't lose you completely. She's doing great. She's 25 now. In fact, she's 26 now because it's 2025 now. So yeah, she's 26 now. Keep getting older, Maya. Geesh. And she's been married for like she's been married for 6 years now. Holy cow. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, and even when you're not, it still flies, right? And she's in full, complete remission. She's in what they call, quote unquote, cured. But, at the time that the doctor's prognosis was not good, when she was in complete organ failure, all we could do was pray and cry. And those families that had a child that was 2 weeks ahead of, they had lived 2 more weeks longer after they had been at the place that Maya was. When their child was at the month, at 3 months, at 6 months, it wasn't really that helpful to talk to people whose children were 5, 6, 8, 10 years out. But for the person who had lived, had made it another day, that was the water that we drank, the air that we breathed, the very sustenance of our life. Nothing else mattered. And I mentioned the book, and these people wrote a wonderful honorarium book to their child, to their son, who passed from that. And it was hard to go through, because we almost lost Maya. That was a rough one. But it was also an amazing, amazing book. And they did it as a tribute to that child. And they did it as a comfort because they knew from their experience that there were a lot of parents who had just lost their child, who were on the other side of the equation. We got lucky and Maya's still around. But there are a lot of the parents who aren't experiencing that. And they need a group of people who get where they're at. They need a reason to go on. My best friend Craig, his not youngest, but one of his younger sons, it's actually technically his wife. Him and his wife have a blended family. It's his wife's youngest son before they got together. He overdosed in their living room. And that was about 12 years ago now, about this time every year. And there was a lot of years when I wouldn't have felt comfortable sharing this with you because it was really rough on them. And I know how rough it was. And just about every year, his wife goes out to the woods and essentially goes camping for pretty much the whole month. Just totally removes herself from the world. And the nature really feeds her soul. And now they're beginning to do some things. 12 years later, they're now beginning to start stepping a little bit into helping the people behind them who lost their child to that kind of thing. And as they share the story, and Craig's told me this many, many times, as they share the story and as their marriage made it through, when most don't, when a child dies, they've been able to be a light and a beacon to people in what is one of, if not the most horrendous thing that as a parent you can go through. And they're offering hope. And they've got people that surround them that in the month of July come around them and help them get through because it's still rough. It's still, and they're still living in that house. For a person that's going through the thing they're going through. And it doesn't have to be a child that's dying. It could be, that they keep tripping over their shoelaces because they never learned as a child how to tie their shoes. And I intentionally went with a ludicrously simple example because I want you to see just how massively important the thing that may seem the most ridiculously simple is, and how it's for them as big of a deal as the near death or the actual death of a child. Because they're struggling with it. They're desperate over that thing. And it may seem foolish to you because, you're probably not a person who ever dealt with that kind of a deal. And I don't really have a frame of reference specifically for not ever knowing how to tie your shoes. But imagine how embarrassing it would be to be, say, 40 years old and you can't wear shoes that need to be tied because you never learned. You just flat out don't know. And whenever something needs to be tied, when your child comes to you and wants you to tie their shoes, you can't do it. Imagine how traumatic that can be for them. And yet, here we are. I mostly wear slip-on shoes these days, but every once in a while when I put on my tennis shoes, you just tie the shoes. You don't even think about it. It's like, how do I do that? I'm not sure I could teach somebody how to tie shoes anymore. But maybe that's what your specialty is. I have a friend of mine. Her whole company is teaching adults how to swim. I interviewed her on my radio show. You can go back. I think it's one that's already been out now. And that's what she does. She teaches adults how to swim. I started learning how to swim in aqua tots with my mom. I'm not even sure if I totally knew how to walk then. I did, but I was the little thing. Way before school, way before any of those things, I was swimming like a fish, and I've been swimming my whole life. Even at my still out of shape size, I can still get in the pool and I can still do laps. I can't do them like I used to. I can't swim a mile like I did when I was on the swim team. That would kill me. I want to build up to that point if I can. But for that adult that never learned how to swim, her whole business is based just on that whole thing. And because she had so much demand for it, she had a Facebook page and she was talking about the local. I mean, because, swim lessons are typically a fairly localized kind of thing. There was so much demand from the stuff she was showing online that she was doing in her local teaching that she had more local that she got, asked to come to particular places and do it. And then she had teachers that are like, could you train me how to do your method? So that we could add this, and she had she has now whole facilities that are teaching her method, and she gets a little bit of a residual from every student that they have, and she's now creating courses so that you can learn some of it online, and some of it you can just learn how to, even just get comfortable with little things like putting your head underwater. I mean, and when her and I were talking, both of us learned how to swim when we were little tiny kids. The concept of not knowing how to swim as an adult is just a foreign concept. I can't fathom it at all. I wouldn't know how to teach it because I learned it too early in life. But for that adult that doesn't know how to swim, whose kids are now getting to that age and they want to go to the pool, and they're like, "How come you're staying outside of the pool, mommy? Why don't you get in? It's really fun." Mommy, how come you won't go beyond this level of the pool? What's wrong, mommy? Why are you hanging on to the side of the pool? This water's fun. Come on, mommy. It's heart wrenching. And a person that comes in and meets that need, they feed that craving that person has. Show up while they're still starving. You know, and yes, there's the jokes about how you can walk out of a Starbucks and look across the street and there's another Starbucks across the street. But for the most part, what you're not going to see very often, if at all, you come outside of a restaurant and out in the parking lot is fully opened up, a food truck. The assumption should be that the people coming out of that restaurant ate their full, that they're not looking for food. Now, food trucks have had great success parking outside of bars that don't have full menu food programs. They maybe have like bags of chips they can throw at people or stuff like that. They have great success with those kind of things because you show up when the people are starving, not when they're full and satisfied and all good. I'm not showing up for the people who are already online. And I didn't say that the right words. I'm not showing up for the people that are already visible. My good friend Molly Mahoney, who has thousands of followers, she doesn't need to know how to be visible. But when she put her book out, she noted she needed me to help her make her book number one. She needed to know how to set up the SEO for her book so that her book was positioned properly on Amazon, so that when all of her followers came and got the book, it showed up properly in the rankings. She needed a methodology for how is she going to use the book. And she brought in a friend of hers that, that's what his whole company does, is creates book funnels and stuff like that. And I listened to, they did live, basically, here's the outline, the architecture for that book funnel. And then her and I met afterwards. I was like, yeah, most everything he said is good. Here, let me tell you a couple of things. 38 years of experience, 17 of which, well, almost 19 now of which are in book space. Here's a couple of things. The number one piece of which is With everything he said, now imagine if instead of just saying my book, you say my best-selling book. Bestseller is the beginning. I wrote the book. It's right here on my desk. Bestseller is only the beginning. Okay, it was my 20th book. It's a day one launch strategy. It's a marketing thing we need to be able to position the voicing of you properly. See, when I talk to you about visibility and books come into it, it's because I know that the visibility, that being a best-selling author, being the guy that wrote the book on it. I love how Seth Godin said. He said, I may not need a plumber right now, but when I need a plumber, I'd like to hire the guy who wrote the book on it. What I want to do is I want to already know here in my local community who is the best plumber in the area. You see, your visibility doesn't show up when it's an emergency and too late. You don't go to medical school when the person is hemorrhaging and bleeding out. Let me go get a medical degree real quick and come back and then I'll do surgery on you. You go to medical school, you learn, you practice, drill, rehearse, you go live clearly, consistently to connect to the people. And if nobody's on your lives, if you went for the next 10 years and nobody showed up on your lives, that would still be good because the message is out there, because people are hearing it. And because when you go and you look at, like, say, the reach that Facebook is giving you, and you look at the shorts that you're making from it and the number of people that are watching that, you can see the impact that it's making. You can see your network growing. It's happening even though it doesn't feel like it. Because right now, you're an intern. You've graduated medical school. And if you're not a bestseller, then you're not even an intern. We need to make you a bestseller so you have that credential, just like as though you had graduated from medical school. So that then, like you heard at the beginning of mine, hi, I'm Steve Kidd. I have 38 best-selling books, soon to be 39. Worked with 5,000 people with 100% success, making people bestsellers. You see, that's your internship. You became a bestseller. That was your graduation degree from medical school. And then you did all these other things. And it doesn't matter whether you've gotten paid massively for it, or people have taken advantage of you, or you've only done it for your friends and neighbors. You only said it to your children who completely disregarded everything you said. It doesn't take away your expertise. It doesn't take away your passion or your purpose or any of those kind of things. I know I'm going long. And I know that some of the beginning of this may have felt a little disjointed because I really did lean into the Saturday unshaven t-shirt vibe. But I want you to hear and feel and know and do the thing that people crave. It's not your polish. It's not your perfect. Person that's starving doesn't care if you give them the food on a paper plate or on grandma's good antique china. And in point of fact, actually, they'd probably prefer it on the paper plate rather than grandma's china because they're weak and they're afraid that they're going to drop the heavy china. They don't need a silver spoon. They need a plastic fork that they can throw away after they get a few bites in. They don't even care if the plastic silverware breaks and they have to get another one in the middle of their meal. They need the food. They'll eat it with their hands if they have to. They're not craving your perfect or your polished. You got to feed them. You got to show up now while they're starving. Somebody's dying for you right now. You need to be their architect, just like I'm right here literally being your architect live in front of you. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not even hiding it from you. I'm telling you exactly. This is exactly what I'm doing. Now, here's what I'd love for you to do. I do want you to drop the word feed. I do want you, if you're ready to actually take action, you're not just, commenting, hey, I watched your thing, but you're really ready to take action. I want you to DM me the word feed. Let me work with you. I've got programs that range everywhere from free all the way to $100,000 Just depends on where you are and what you need and how much you need of it. I've got a whole team of experts that I can bring into you. I have a whole, now virtual Rolodex, digital, if you will, Rolodex of experts, of people that I can send to you. And if I need to refer you to somebody else, I absolutely will, greatly, gladly, with gratitude that I was just able to help you. But you got to take the step. I know you're starving. I know you need it. And the people that need what you have, they're starving and they need you to do it right now. So I'm begging you, really, yes, I am. I'm begging you. Go live. Pick up the phone. Hi, my name is, and what I do is, and I'm here to help you. One thing I wish you knew was your name, what you do, and at least one thing that I wish you knew. And if you don't know what you do, if you don't know one thing you wish they'd do, then it's real simple. Hi, my name is, and I'd really love to know, how can I help you today? Just like that. Just start talking to people. Somebody's going to ask you for help for something, and you're going to be like, oh gosh, I can't do that. You don't need to create a program to be able to do that for them. Help them find somebody. That could be what your whole thing is, just helping them find somebody that does that. Right? Do you get it? Did I make any sense today? Are you ready to show up and be visible and valuable? Are you ready to amplify your visibility in a powerful, massive way? To be the architect in the people that you serve's life? To give them the little bite-sized and really giant, massive buffet that will be more food thrown away than you'll ever possibly dream of eating, like what I did today. Kind of a meal to the person that's starving because somebody's waiting on you. You got to come to visibilityamplifier.com, join our community. It's free. Lots of resources there for you. A whole bunch of my team members are there. And if you need to learn how to do your LinkedIn like Jamie does, how to really make video work for you, to document your journey like Christopher does. If you want to know what does it take to really be the feature person on the cover of magazines, that's what my good friend Willie J does all day long. And he does it not just for people, but he does it for himself all the time. And the list goes on. If you need to see the magic that is your magic inside of what you do, Judy is your fairy that's going to come in and sprinkle fairy dust all over it. And you're going to be like, oh, wow, I really am powerful and magical. So many wonderful, amazing people that God's blessed me to have be in my team. And they're all inside of the Visibility Amplifier community. There's several others that I didn't mention, not because they aren't just as powerful, but just because I just gave you a few examples. And now's the time. Now's the time for you to go live. Now's the time for you to show up. Now's the time for you to do the thing that only you can do. Clearly, consistently connect with the people that need you, to feed them now while they're starving. Not to spend the next decade making a buffet for a starving person who would gladly take a slice of bread with no butter on it, a piece of toast, some crackers. That stuff that's at the back of your refrigerator that isn't spoiled and rotten. I'm not saying give them yucky stuff. But that stuff that you're just waiting for it to expire so you can throw it out because you didn't really want it yourself. They eat it gladly. That can of whatever that's up in your cupboard that, you don't even remember when you got it or somebody gave it to you. And it's just sitting up there because every time you give food to the food bank, you don't even feel like you should give it to the food bank because you hate it so much that you would hate to give it to anybody either. They want that. Someone is waiting on you. They're suffering. They're starving. while you're silent. And today's the day. Now is the time. Come join us, Visibility Amplifier community. Drop the word feed in the comments, or even better yet, DM it to me. If you need help, I'm here to help you. I've got a really cool, exciting program that we just launched. I mean, it's so launched that like nobody else is in it yet. But we've got some people that are already jumping on board to it. Well, they're saying they're going to. It's $197, which should be, and I'm telling you straight up, okay, this should be a $5,000 a month mastermind. And we're letting people in it right now. There's only going to be 10 openings, but right now you can get into this multi-$1,000 a month mastermind for $197 a month. And we're going deep in that. And we're opening up some really cool stuff. And I'm not going to tell you any more about it. But if you're interested in that, if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Zaraz is now. Now is your time. Somebody's starving and they need you right now. And now's the time to do it. And thanks for doing it, because you're awesome. I appreciate you. Have a chill, cool, Saturday vibe kind of a day. Make the difference that only you can make. Show up for the starving person that needs your food today. And have a great week.